Hello. Hello, hello. Thank you. That's nice. Okay, well, no one's responding to me, so maybe we'll wait just a couple minutes. I just got lunch handed to me anyway. Hello. Hello, good afternoon. I have a lot of quiet people today. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Yay, someone talked to me. Thank you, Jolanda.
How are you? Happy belated birthday.
Hey, thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask forgiveness, but my lunch just arrived into my room.
It's okay.
And so I'm going to eat a little bit as we're talking. But yeah,
Yes.
it was good. How you been, Jolanda?
All is well. Hanging in there. All is well.
Good, good. Yay, Pat Garbutt, Oshawa, Ontario. Welcome. I see Audrey and Diane and Ilka. Ilka, is Tanya with you too?
She's on her way.
I was just going to ask you, are you guys just really good friends, or do you live in the same house, or what? Because you're always together.
Well, we are very good friends. We are like family. She doesn't have family here, and I don't have it either. And when I met Tanya, we are both Jewish, and she didn't know the Lord. So I introduced her to the Messianic congregations, and after maybe 1 year or two, she received Yeshua in her heart. So I have been for all these years kind of like coaching her through.
That's awesome.
A lot of new things for me in the beginning, so I pass it on. So with the Lord just put us together. I believe she has an apartment, but we live in the same area.
Uh-huh.
So she lives like maybe 5 minutes from me.
Wow, that's nice. That's very cool. Huh. So how long ago was that she really became a believer in Yeshua?
It was, I will say, probably 13 or 14 years ago.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, her family didn't know. They kind of like know because, she's coming from an Orthodox family. My family wasn't Orthodox. But she did. So her family didn't know. I think that they know now. It's like her whole family is kind of like now they talk more about the Lord and praying and everything, and it's not just the ritual things in the congregation. So, but her family is, they very religious, very, very religious.
Wow. And so where is her family from?
They lived from Mexico. Her mom and her sister are in California, and her dad is in Mexico.
Wow.
And some of the family are in Miami, an uncle in Miami, and the others in Mexico City.
Wow, that's cool. Has she been back to see her dad?
her dad didn't talk to her for like 10 years. And we kept praying for it. And because he never really wanted to answer to her. I don't know if deep inside he knew that something was different.
Uh-huh.
And like 2 years ago, I will say, they were talking. So now they talk every week.
Wow.
Praise God.
Yeah, so the Lord has done a lot of miracles.
That's awesome. Well, cool. I hope to get to know you guys better. I think about especially Ilka and Tanya. There are several people in your area that I know who really just want to connect, and so I think about you guys all the time. It's like it's constantly your area keeps coming up to me, and so anyway, I don't know what God's doing, but I think it's something big. So.
Do you know Carmen was in my house last night? She came, she's like 3.5 hours from us. Wow. And she came to this area. So she spent the night in my home. Yay. So we have dinner and breakfast in the morning. She just left around 1:00 our time. So I was asking her if she was going to, I don't know if it's going to be possible because she's driving. Mm-hmm. But we engaged the Court of Heaven this today, and it was very, very good for the three of us.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, I'm so excited for you guys. Have you met Steve and Corinne Bennett?
No, I tried to look for them, but there were few. Do they live in Newport Richie?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I just know Tampa area. That's all I know.
Yeah. I think that I locate them. I'm not really sure because there were few Steve Bennett. So I wasn't sure which one was the one that you were talking about. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm going with my lunch, I know. I think maybe I'll put you guys in a Facebook message together.
Okay.
And then try to get you connected. And then I have another friend who's moving down there right now. I think I told you this, I'm not quite sure, but she was in Enid, leading a hub there in Enid. And anyway, just an awesome woman who really gets everything kingdom. And so anyway, they are being led to move to Tampa to start some new ministry, and they're not exactly sure what, just God saying to go. And
wow.
And so anyway, I would love for y'all to get connected because I mean, I know it's all going to be heavenly realm something. So, you know.
I know. I'm excited. Mm-hmm. Do you know when are they coming?
I don't know for sure. I kind of think they might even be like right now, like this weekend or something. I know it's very, very soon. If they might even be there and I'm not aware, okay? But we're right in that same area. Who is that?
I don't know.
Is that in my house? Do you hear that?
Yes, it's like alarm.
Okay, did you hear it when I was muted?
No.
Huh.
I think that you should go and look around.
Well, my family's here.
Uh-huh.
I mean, strange. I don't know, it quit, so weird.
That was weird. I heard it too, but I don't know where it came from.
Aaron Michael, you weren't at the source today. What's up?
I wasn't. I woke up and I was feeling super yucky this morning, so I just slept. I literally woke up, as you can probably tell by my voice, like 10 minutes ago.
That's the sound again.
What in the heck? Okay, hold on one second.
Okay, so everyone stop talking for a second and see which screen shows up. The next time it starts beeping. That's what I saw. That's what I was thinking. But I just wanted to see if everyone else saw the same thing.
Yeah. Hi.
Is everything okay, JD?
I don't know. I couldn't find anything at my house, but I still can't tell if it's coming from my computer or from in my room.
So when wherever a sound is coming from, like whoever's speaking or whatever, will typically be the person who shows up on the screen if you have it on a certain setting. So the next time the beeping starts, if everyone just stops talking and sees what shows up on the screen, we'll know where it's coming from.
That would be good, because I thought that too, and I thought it was Jolanda, and then I'm like, wait, no, maybe it's me, because then mine popped up and I was confused.
No, it was me.
That was you? Okay. Okay, yeah, because I saw when everybody stopped, it was beeping, and then it said JD, and I was like, wait, but I don't want to, like, call somebody out. Be like, what are you doing?
No, it was me. Sorry.
Okay. Are you okay?
Yes, I have a very sensitive alarm system that just goes off. So
Okay.
please, my apologies.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry.
Okay. You guys are so gracious to me. Okay. Thank you for letting me eat. And I'm glad we had some crazy at the beginning, so I could have a little more grace with eating. Oh, goodness. Well, Aaron Michael, I wanted to tell you, do you remember Dottie Ulrich from the cooking class?
I don't. The name sounds familiar, but I can't put a face to the name.
Okay. Well, I was excited. She was at the Source today. She's here in Wichita for a week. And so she's from Florida, or she lives in Florida. And so, yeah. Anyway.
Is she going to be there tomorrow? I mean, not tomorrow, next week?
No, I don't think so. She's here through Friday, so. Yeah. Anyway. Well, you guys, so I wanted to, if you remember, I wanted to talk about like questions, answers, stuff like that. If you have any, that is. So think of these things, but I specifically, Connie had asked a question on the group page, and it was one of those things that's kind of lengthy to write about, or at least in a little comment, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to address it on video. She's not on here right now, but she said she'll watch the recording. So that's what I'm going to do. But she was asking, what is a bench of 3? How does that work? Because she is establishing her blueprint right now, their blueprint for ministry, I think. Anyway, hi, Christy. So she was asking, what is a bench of 3? So I wanted to kind of explain this because I've had several people asking me lately about this. And the truth is, I give all the insight I have, knowing that I have only been walking in this portion for probably 1.5 years. So I can't say that I'm some sort of expert, and honestly, I haven't found anybody who is. A lot of people talk about it, but I've not seen a lot of people walking truly in it from the realms, okay?
Sorry.
So basically, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to put everybody on mute, and then if you need to unmute, go ahead and do that. That'll take out a lot of the background noise that we've been having. So anyway, a bench of 3 is basically in a blueprint. God always puts basically 7 mountains, right? And he will put a bench of 3 on each mountain. So say for instance, and it's like this kind of in our life, usually he basically benches along with us on our own life. But we're always with the Father and Jesus. Somebody says, well, wait, what about Holy Spirit? Okay, so here's my opinion about that. I just got to put this in there. Feel free to disagree. Some people say that they interact. with Holy Spirit in the heavenly places. That has never been my experience. Holy Spirit has always been here on earth with me, like the one who I interact with here, I guess, if that makes sense. And so Jesus and the Father is always who I'm interacting with in the heavenly places. So I know that seems confusing. It's not like I'm leaving Holy Spirit out. I mean, he's pretty much the best. I mean, okay, they're all really, there's no best, I guess. But, I absolutely cannot function without Holy Spirit. But I just wanted to say that. But that being said, when we receive a blueprint and there's a bench of three, what a bench of three does is basically it's governing something. And governing here on the earth is different than governing in the heavenly places. So in the heavenly places, here's kind of this top-down model with God and then us, right? We are a reflection of that. When he's creating government in the earth, it's always like a V, not really an A. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know what I'm saying? So basically, we are helping uphold people if you're on a bench of three. So for instance, I'm on a bench of three at the source, and that means what we do is we govern the blueprint, and each one of the 7 mountains that we have, if you remember seeing the blueprint, they each have a representative that's part of a bench of 7. And then on each one of those mountains, they have a bench of 3. And so it can just go on to infinity, how many little benches that you can have. But so what we do is we really govern from heaven. It isn't about doing all the work or being a boss or anything like that. It's about going, okay, God, what do you want to do to help your ministry happen? And so we just go and we engage in heaven. We have submitted ourselves to God, and we go and we look. We're basically the bench of 3 is they're the people who are governing in the heavenly realms over everything, making sure the enemy is not coming up, making sure that what God is asking us to do is the right thing. Okay, God's always asking us to do the right thing. What we're doing is the right thing that God is asking us to do, and not that someone else is coming in trying to mess things up, or not that anything's done in the flesh. That being said, I've seen some people who have had teachings or revelation over heavenly government and having bench of 3, bench of 7, and they just decide, okay, well, we're going to be a bench. And so they get 3 people together, and then they basically become a leadership team. That's not what a bench truly is, okay? First of all, you don't decide to be on a bench. You're called to be on a bench. So God is the one who says, this is what I need you to do. I want you to do this. And sometimes you'll have only 2 people who are on, I wouldn't call it a bench because 2 people make an ark, but these 2 people might be the only ones who are doing it together with the Lord as the 3rd in the heavens, until someone else is brought alongside who's supposed to join in to do that. And so always there's kind of an until. And usually what happens is no one is, I've never seen this. Okay, I would say generally, I can't say no one, but generally a bench of 3 is not someone who always will be that. You might be called to do this, and then kind of the thing that you always want to do is be ready to move up into higher authority in a different place that God's calling. So for instance, say we're governing the hub. God might say, okay, great job, Chris. You've been doing this for 3 years, so you've really governed this well. Now I want to give you a different authority. And so he'll move me up to another authority that might be over the state of Kansas or something. Okay, I'm making things up, but do you understand what I'm saying? Like it's always a moving up and other people moving up into another authority. So someone who might be governing over the health mountain at the source would then be called to move up into benching on the bench of 3. And so anyway, it's always different. People are always moving and not in a place that is bad, but just you always want to follow what God's telling you to do. So people say, well, what about this? At one time, I had this mountain of authority that was my job at Dillon's. Okay, so I had this job at a grocery store, and that was my mountain of authority. But then God called me out of that. So now what happens to that mountain? Now someone else is sitting on that mountain, and you are called to something else. Okay, so this is what happens. He always changes these things, and it doesn't mean that it's bad that he's changing. Sometimes he's like, okay, this is bad. I'm leveling this mountain. And that happens too sometimes. But the point is, it's all a reflection of our own life. And once you start governing your own life, he often calls you to govern something else once you start walking in one way. So if you are like, well, I don't have a blueprint over a ministry, that's totally fine. He might call you to a ministry to be a part of the blueprint. I mean, this is very, very common. You don't always have to receive all the blueprints. I don't receive blueprints. He even told me that's not my job. Because one time I'm like, wait, how come I can't receive it? And he just said, that isn't who you are. You're one who will release blueprints and give blueprints to people in the heavenly places. Okay, basically, I'm just a conduit. So he gives me something, I pass it along, that sort of thing. But it's not mine all the time. So even if I don't receive it, it doesn't mean that I'm not attached to a blueprint. And so anyway, that's kind of what a bench of three does. So for instance, there are people who have come in and said, hey, we want to bring this guest speaker into the source. And we have to say now, okay, let us engage over that. So basically what we do as a bench is we get together, we engage in heaven, and we see what God shows us. So we say, all right, here, we're seeking this about this speaker. Do you want this guy to come? Do you not? And he'll show us sometimes major blockages or things that we need to do before the person comes, or that the person's not supposed to come at all, or what we're supposed to do to get certain people involved, all sorts of different things. There have been times when we go, okay, we know that worship is a big thing, God, that it's one of the mountains, and this worship, it's not going in the way that you've planned for the blueprint to go. So what we do is we engage over that and see what we're supposed to do. Then God said, you need to go and meet with the person who's supposed to be governing over worship. And usually there'll be more than one, but right now there's one who is shown to be on the bench. And so anyway, and we meet with them and you help them because they can't bench alone. So what we do is we basically become temporaries. So as part of the bench of three over the blueprint, we'll go and temporarily bench with them to help them engage in heaven and see what God wants over it and all of that sort of thing. So I hope that makes sense. But that's kind of what a bench of three is and how they function. Honestly, we are very led by the Spirit. When we engage in heaven, we go, what do you want us to do? It's not usually with an agenda. Sometimes it is if there's something specific like a guest speaker coming in or something. But like we were talking to Audrey's on from South Africa. There was one time when we just said, okay, God, what do you want us to do? Take us where you want us. And then he went and took us to the court of scribes and showed us this whole thing over South Africa. We were never planning on that. That wasn't something that we had on our radar. I mean, we loved South Africa, right? We knew that we would even be going there, but we had no idea that he wanted to do a specific thing that had to do with this covenant that was in the court of scribes. That was not anything we sought out. And so God knows what you need, and he will guide a bench of three. I've had people say, well, I just need to be taught how to function on a bench of three. Well, we were never taught. We just said, here we are. You've said we need to do this. What do we do? And so I think that that's kind of the best way to go about it, actually, because I think every ministry is different and every blueprint's different anyway. All right, that's all I have to say about benches of three. I'm sure not everyone on here will want to know about that, but at least Connie needed to know. So, all right, have you guys had any questions? It doesn't have to do with that necessarily, but any questions that you've been thinking about or things that you've come up against that has kind of gone, hey, what about this? Thanks, Will. Miss you, buddy. All right, Erin Michael. She always has questions. She doesn't have any questions.
Not
I
right
wait,
now.
Stephanie does. Okay, what'd you say, Erin Michael?
Oh, get to Stephanie and then come back to me.
Okay, you're writing? No, you're. I don't know what that is. I honestly couldn't tell what that was. I was like, is that a plate? Is that a notebook? Is that a wallet? I don't know. Oh, yeah, your mic doesn't work. Okay, so type out what you want. Or are you trying to get your mic to work, maybe? Okay, okay. I'll wait for her to get her tablet open. That's what it was, a tablet. Okay, get your tablet open. Will says, what about personal mountains? What about personal mountains? What do you want to know?
Yeah, Adventure 3 on Personal Mountain. Good.
On my personal mountain, I basically, what I've seen is I arc with Jesus. So I would say that would be like a 2. I think most people bench with Father too. I'm not saying I don't, but I think a lot of times when I am arcing with Jesus, it's like, because he's one with the Father, it's like all, I don't know how to explain, but it's kind of all in one. Excuse me. So I think that would be a bench, except for I just don't see it like that. And so I'm always seeing Jesus. And so I want to say that that's my personal experience. Most people see more than that. I've also seen that there are people who will have angels that they bench with. And so I have done that on different benches in different courts, but not on my mountain at all. So I have lots of angels on my mountain, but they've never really governed with me at all. Yeah, so I don't know if that's very helpful, but okay, basically, arcing is kind of the same as benching, except for instead of 3 that makes a bench, you have 2. So it's basically, by yourself, you can't really do anything. There's no sort of, I know this may sound strange. I can't really back it up biblically. It's just what I've seen, okay? So when there is government established, you can't do anything alone. No times can you ever do anything alone. So you always have to have at least an arc. And an arc is like 2 coming together to govern. Ideally, it is 3, though. So anyway, the 3, it makes a bench. So it's pretty much the same thing, but it's only using 2. So even when I've been on a bench before, where I was on a bench of 3, and there was a time when one person on the bench was like totally not okay, wasn't governing in heaven at all. The other 2 of us could still govern as a bench, except for just 2 of us, so that'd be an arc. Does that make sense? But then if I would try to go by myself and do it, it was like I wasn't allowed, it wasn't happening. And so there's no, I don't know. So I really don't know why exactly, but that's kind of how it is. So arcing is basically just the same as benching, except with 2. So Stephanie, what was your question?
Okay. You know, just been these fires. The fires in California and the fires in Greece.
Yeah.
And yesterday I was like getting pretty stressed. And then just suddenly the Holy Spirit came on me, like the presence of the heaven. And I saw the fire. And like I was walking on the fire in the spirit, but like with and I saw the like snakes and scorpions and the authority, and then God said He will kiss the fires will kiss. Can you hear?
Yeah.
And then He showed like it's coming echo. Yeah, He just said like the fires will kiss, and I will bring rain, like in the spirit, like spiritually and in natural. And then He showed people like there was shelves, and people were taking dusty Bibles from shelves.
That's interesting.
Like yeah, but I don't understand. So was I there in the spirit, or it was like pretty?
Well, did you feel like you were there in the spirit?
Huh?
Did you feel like you were there in the spirit?
I just kind of. I don't know.
I'll tell you this. It sounds a lot like when there are times when I translate to other places, and basically it is like traveling in the spirit. And I'm there, but I'm also working totally in the spirit, not just, so my body hasn't gone, it's not transrelocation, it's just traveling in the spirit. And so I'm there with Jesus, and He always has us doing strange things, kind of like that. So some things are pretty normal, like we will interact with people sometimes, but other times it's very abnormal, and it's like, oh, an angel helps us drive this thing deep into the earth, and then this glory light comes out or something, totally weird and not what you would think of when you're doing that. And so it makes sense how He was telling you to walk on the fires, and that they're keys, and that, all that. To me, you wouldn't do that in the physical, but that is exactly what He would have you do in the spirit. And so anyway, it sounds like you were translating in the spirit with Jesus.
Because also like when the fire started in Greece, I had all day, like I was crying all day when my heart was hurting, and I didn't know why.
Right.
And then I saw the news, and I actually cried all night.
Wow.
Like, and I felt like it was like a pain going through my whole body. Like in the end, I was just like, Jesus, like, and I had to put worship to be able to fall asleep, because it was like so heavy, crying, like intercession.
Wow.
It took about 2-3 days, and then the next fire started. But then yesterday I was already like so restless and like shocked. Like I was almost like thinking like, nah, that's it. Now we're gonna go. And then Jesus came like to calm down. The peace that landed here was, I can't describe it by words. Suddenly, like he went like jelly, and then I just said to the girl who was here, like, lay down. There's a spirit of revelation here. And then God started showing answers and strategies and for some things, and gave peace.
That's awesome.
Because
Well, that's
there's
cool.
a lot of history going on now here about it.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you sharing what
yeah.
you saw, Stephanie, because that actually confirmed for me some stuff that actually the Lord has been speaking to me about what's been going on. So I really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, that was good. I'm kind of glad to know, because I remember the day when you were crying and couldn't figure it out, and so it's really good to see the flip side of it, and that Jesus has like shown all of this about why and what you're doing and what His purpose is for you and all that, and it's so cool.
Because actually, since the fires, Greece is I have many, many, many friends in Greece, and they are actually shocked, and they are full of questions. Like they're writing to me on Facebook, and there are questions like, what is going on? Because they know I have this thing with God, even they don't understand. But now they are started to open with questions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Stephanie. Okay, and I see JD said, as far as fasting is concerned, since interacting in the courts, do you still fast? Okay, I'll tell you this. Since interacting in the courts for me, I've had way less fasting than ever before. I used to fast all the time, like not all the time, that's an exaggeration, but a lot. And then for some reason, for a long time, God was not leading me to fast at all when I started going to the courts. But then every once in a while, he would say, like in the courts, he would give me a mandate to fast. And it would be for a specific court case usually. But then recently, he has shown me the benefit of fasting and feasting in heaven. And so basically fasting on earth, but feasting in the heavenlies. Which before really engaging in heaven, I did not understand. I just thought I was depriving myself basically on the earth. I didn't really get that I was supposed to feast from heaven at the same time. And so I think that that is a huge shift in understanding. And for me, he's told me lately that I need to do some fasting on the earth for health reasons, that where I'm feasting in the heaven. And so that I need to really focus on feasting. When I say feasting, I'm really talking, the majority of what I'm talking about is eating from the tree of life and drinking from the river of life. Those are the two things, like specifically eating from the tree of life is the main thing that he has told me is very important for me to do and to focus on doing. And so you can feast in many ways in heaven that doesn't have to do with that, but that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about fasting. So anyway, I don't know if anybody else has had different experiences. I know Linda, since she started doing that, has fasted more. She was even led. Linda, are you able to talk right now? Maybe not. Okay, well, I know that she was even led to do a 40-day fast, like water fast. And I remember like the first couple weeks, I don't know, it was maybe 3 weeks in or something, or 2 weeks, I don't know. I was getting really worried about her because she was starting to get weak and, you know, all of that. And then there was just this shift that happened where the Lord basically showed her that she would have victory and he wouldn't call her to anything she wouldn't have victory on. And so anyway, Linda, you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm unmuted. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I like food, actually, and I was not super thrilled to go fast. And when the Lord called me to do it, I knew immediately that it was a 40-day fast. I knew that it was going to be water only, that and communion. And that was it. And I knew that it wasn't going to start next week, that it was that day. So God just like, yep, this is it. This is now. So I did that, and I was staying a lot with Christine at the time. So, and it was about 10 days in that I started dragging, and Christine came in and said, hey, I don't want to tell you to not do what the Lord has called you to do, but I'm concerned. And so I have to admit that actually I got a little bit mad about it. Not that she was concerned, that was super sweet. But when I knew that the Lord was calling me to this, I did not really believe that I could do it. And of course, that's part of the reason why the Lord called me to it. But I said, okay, but I need to have my energy, you know? And so 10 days in, I was dragging. I didn't really have my energy. And so it made me mad. And actually, let me rephrase, I chose to get mad. That's how I responded. And so I went for a little walk outside and had a little chat with the Lord and said, hey, if I can't have my energy, then it's obviously that I just can't do this. So I guess I'm just going to have to quit. And the Lord was just like, I did not call you to failure. I only called you to victory. You got this. I've got you. And all you have to do is walk it out. And, it just sort of hit me like a ton of bricks and I can't say that was like an audible, voice of God. I don't even remember at the time. I just remember I just knew that what he was saying. And I'm like, okay, I received that. That was key right there, is I had to receive it. And so I said, I guess I'm a bargainer, because I was like, well, okay, then if that's the case, then I'm going to be stronger at the end than I was at the beginning. And so it was, but it was powerfully brought home to me that, one, I can do this. Two, anything that God calls me to it's already a done deal. You just have to walk it out. It was pretty simple. It wasn't easy necessarily, but it was simple. And just, God's got me, and he's got all of you too. So that's it.
Can I share something about my experience with fasting?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So for me, like what you were saying, Linda, fasting for me had been, like you were saying, I really like food, and that's been, my experience too. I've actually had traumas tied in with food where, for me, being hungry had been like a traumatic experience. Like if I was ever hungry, I would be like panicking and like all these like really weird things just tied into some weird childhood trauma stuff. And so I always joked that I was like, I will never fast. Like, that's dumb. If I have food, like what? And then I got to this point where I was like, I hear what people say about fasting, like the things that they experience while they fast. And I'm like, oh man, that actually sounds incredible. But I'm not just going to starve myself. Like I'd say, unless the Lord's telling me to do it, I'm not just going to be like, what are you doing this weekend? Ooh, starving. That's what I'm doing. Like, that was, I would always say like, I'm not doing that. That's horrible, and so I had a pretty good friend who knew that about me. And this past December, she was talking to me and she was like, hey, so I know this is a weird question to ask you specifically, but I'm going to be doing a fast. Do you want to do the fast with me? And I know she had done fasts where she'd do like a vegetable fast where she would just only eat vegetables. So I was like, well, what kind of fast? And she was like, oh, I'm going to be doing a clear liquid fast. I was like, okay, well, have fun with that. No, I'm not doing that. That's horrible. And then all of a sudden the Lord says to me, you're doing this fast. And I was like, oh, okay. So then like almost like 2 minutes later, I sent her a message back and I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'll do it with you. And she was like, okay, awesome. And this was on the 28th of December. And she's like, okay, so we'll start on New Year's. And I was like, okay, sounds good. Then I messaged her like 3 minutes later saying, actually, let's start today. And she was like almost in tears saying, praise God. He just told me that we were supposed to start it today. And I told him, okay, Lord, if this is you, then you have to have Aaron Michael send me a message saying that, because I know the only way she would agree to that is if it was you. And then like right after she prayed that, I sent her the message. So she was like, okay, come on, let's do this. So me being the person who like food was like a struggle for me, like hunger was a traumatic experience and was just, and it was like not even like hangry. Like I would like panic and be like, oh my gosh, and just have like an anxiety attack if I was hungry. So then I'm doing like this clear liquid fast where literally I'm drinking water and chicken broth. Like that was all. And then even on New Year's Day, I went with my prayer group, and it was at this woman's house, and she's one of those people who loves to entertain. So she has like a whole spread. She has like every different type of food. I was literally sitting at a table with this plate of these delicious smelling brownies right in front of me, and I was not even fazed. Like the grace that the Lord gave me to do this fast was incredible. It is like nothing I had ever experienced, because the cravings for the food weren't there. The like anxiety of hunger wasn't there. Hunger itself wasn't even really there. Like it was just insane. And people kept trying to say, well, just have, maybe just a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm like, no, sorry, it's what the Lord told me to do. And I thought that the fast was going to be a 10-day fast. And that's what my plan was. But I am always up for a Holy Spirit hijacking. And so 6 days in, so it was 3 days before the new year, and then 3 days into the new year, the Lord says to me, okay, you're done with your fast. You can eat now. And I was like, okay, cool. Since it's coming from him, like, then yeah, I'll eat, but not coming from other people, So I ended up eating. And then later that night, I got some of the most devastating news that I had received in years. And I was absolutely heartbroken. And I handled this conversation with more grace and more love, and just being fully submitted to what the Lord was telling me to do in that interaction than I ever even imagined possible. I mean, just to give like a brief summary, I was kicked out of a community that I was in because I was raped, and the Lord healed me of the trauma from it within 3 days, miraculously, because I took it to the altar and said, Lord, I can't do this. So he removed all of the trauma, completely healed me from it, and the people in the community, because of how quickly I was healed, didn't believe me. So I was kicked out and accused even of like prostitution and all these weird things that I was like, what? And I thought that and on that day, when I ended the fast, was the day that they were officially like, yes, we don't want you to come back because we don't believe you, and all this stuff. And in this conversation, it was insane, because I was able to not, appear like I was like this emotional mess. Like, what are you talking about? I was like, okay. And I was trying to hear what they were saying and understand and like actually get to the root of what was happening in this situation. But it was phenomenal the way I was able to handle the entire situation, and not go to this place of like depression and like heartbreak and rage and all the things that one would think would happen in a situation like that, but was able to just flow through it with such grace and like, okay, all right, Lord, so what are you telling me to do now? Where do I go from here? And it was just amazing. And I feel so strongly, like not even just like a thought, but I'm confident that the reason that I went through that fast was because obviously the Lord sees big picture and knew what was happening even on that day. And that was why, the fast ended then. And it was very strategically planned by the Father, the way that fast went. And it was actually interesting because the person who asked me to go on the fast, I guess 3 days into the fast, stopped and started doing just like vegetable only. And I was like so upset. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, but whatever, I'm doing the clear liquids, because to me, it was all about, obedience, being obedient to the Lord. And some people have said, well, the real test is if you can fast when that grace isn't there and when that hunger is still there and you're still, making that incredible sacrifice. My response to that is obedience is greater than sacrifice. He's not looking to see if I'm willing to torture myself for him. He's looking to see if I'm willing to be obedient to what he's saying, regardless of how it comes across. As long as I'm being obedient, that's what he wants. He doesn't want me to go out and say, well, if I do this horrible thing and make myself suffer for you, Lord, because it's my idea, then you'll love me. He's like, no, I just want you to do what I'm telling you to do. Not to like make up these hoops to jump through that I haven't asked you to jump through. So yeah, but for everybody, their situations are everything's very personal for us and what he's doing with us. And that's just was mine. So.
That's awesome. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that too. It's so
Yeah.
funny how everybody's so different in what God does with them for fasting. And Will, I just have to say, I totally relate to this. You said food has been a false refuge for me, what I turn to instead of Him. Honestly, that's why I fasted all the time. That's one of the reasons I fasted all the time for so many years, was because I'd kind of go back and forth with being totally, absolutely devoted, finding my comfort in Him, and then I would seep back into this doing what I knew I wasn't supposed to do and finding comfort in food again. And when that would happen, I would always just fast to get back on track with God and focus completely on Him, get out of the whole I have to eat thing, because that was such a struggle for me, was having to eat. It honestly, I don't even think it was about what it was, although sometimes it was like, I just definitely need Burger King cheeseburger, something really bad for me. Anyway, sometimes it was like that, but it was more about, I need to do this, this has to do. And so He would lead me to fast, either do some sort of liquid fast where I'm not actually doing the eating, or just completely fast with water. But I would do that a lot because of that. And I think what happened to me, one of the very first things that God dealt with me with in the courts was this food addiction. And it was something that without Him giving me the self-control that really comes from the Spirit, I would probably still be fasting all the time, because that was one of the first things He worked on me with in the courts. And so I thankfully feel very free of that. There are times when I slip back into eating the wrong things sometimes, but I don't really find my comfort in food like I used to. I used to really do that. So JD says, can you please expand on how feasting in heaven works? Okay, I was actually just talking to someone about this today, because I'll tell you, a total shift happened in our family this weekend. And basically, God's been working on lots of mindsets, lots of health stuff, all this stuff. And He has called us all in my little, I say my family, my husband, me, and my 3 kids. Okay. Anyway, we are all changing as of yesterday to a plant-based diet. And that is something never have I wanted to do. I really love meat and cheese and all that stuff. That's, I'm typical American. And that has been stuff that I've loved. And I've known for a while that He wanted me to do it for health reasons, except for I just didn't want to. I like eating that stuff a lot. And so He's been telling me to focus on eating from the tree of life. And so literally it isn't, I had someone say, well, what does that mean? It's not even about what it means. It's just about doing it. So, when we engage in heaven in the garden, I say in the garden, it's not really, you can call it what you want. But anyway, there's the river of life. And then there's right next to it is the tree of life. And so, at the tree of life, there are all these fruits that hang on the tree, and they're all different kinds of fruits, which is kind of strange to me, because, in the world that we live in, we have like one fruit for each tree or something, but there are all these different kinds of fruits. And these fruits, they just, when you eat this fruit, first of all, it's the most delicious thing you'll ever taste, but it's just, it completely nourishes our body. And I've never felt so nourished in my body, except for when I eat from the tree of life. Or one time, you guys are going to think this sounds crazy. It does sound crazy, but I was led to eat a galaxy. Okay, that's strange. But anyway, that happened to me during that experience too. But other than that, just the tree of life. And so at the tree of life, I eat this fruit, and it nourishes my body completely. And it's the same with anybody. I know it's with anybody, because this is what even Jesus was eating this stuff when He was fasting. This is how He fasted for so long, I know. And this, when we eat from that and we drink from the river of life, it's like we're never thirsty, we're never hungry. And that's a different concept for me, because growing up, when I would fast, I would use my hunger pangs as like reminders to pray. That's what I would do in fasting. And now, when I'm eating from the tree of life, if I get hungry, I just eat from the tree of life, and then I'm not hungry anymore, which is strange because, it really is in the natural doing this for us. And so you can also feast like at the Father's house at the banqueting table. There's a bunch of food there. You can feast there. Honestly, there are lots of places you could get food at different places and drinks and all of these things. But what I'm talking about for fasting is really from the tree of life. So anyway, that's all. It's not even, you do get a lot of things like wisdom, and even in the river of life, you get refreshing and health and rest and all of that. All of that is combined in all of it, which is different than we know food and water to be here. We don't get rest from eating. We don't get rest from drinking. We don't get that sort of refreshing, but it does happen with those things in the heavenlies. So Stephanie said, think fasted last week without realizing, was so hot, and after that crying, had no appetite. After a few days realized that I've hardly eaten and was dizzy. Yeah, okay, that's not the good kind of fasting. Although, if you're spending time with the Lord, it's good, but you got to feast. That was one of the things that when I came to Linda, when she was about 10 days in, and I said I was so concerned, and I told her, it's not that I'm trying to call her out of the fast that God called her to. Okay, that was not the point. The point for me was saying, hey, you need to get your crap together and learn how to feast from heaven. That's basically, and I can say that to her because she knows that it's out of love. But anyway, it was really like, this has to be a priority, because if you're not feasting from heaven, you will like die, So you have to be able to really eat from the heavenly places with the Lord and eat of him, or whatever you do. And so the communion is really important, what she was talking about, taking the communion every day and all of that. She's still eating of the Lord when she's doing that. That's the best. You can't get better than that, really. So anyway, yeah. Jolanda, did that answer your question, or were you looking for something else?
Yes. Because I know everybody have their own belief, but I myself, I live a fasted life, which is what I was called to do. I fast twice a week, but I'm getting ready to go on this 3 day of dry fast, and I'm like, Lord. But the real reason why I asked is, I know you had mentioned before about feasting in heaven, and I said, how if I'm going to do this dry fast? But I just believe that God is going to give me whatever I need. And I don't really, food is not something I can abstain from, but from not water, because I'm a drinker of water. So, but needless to say, I was trying to get the concept of, doing fasting. If you guys fast, how do you still feast in heaven to sustain you, so you don't get weak and give up? Because I'm a warrior. I don't give up.
That's good. Yeah, so that's exactly right. And especially with drinking, I would say for sure, drink from the river of life often. Take communion often. Drink with him. That is going to be what sustains you without water.
Okay.
Yes, that's exciting. I can't wait to hear the other side of it.
Ooh, yes.
I loved that when you said, I'm a warrior, I don't give up. I was like, oh, girl, yes. I was like, preach that. That made my day. I love that.
That's awesome.
Pray for me. Intercede for me in heaven, guys.
When do you start?
Today at 6.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Woo! Yes, get it.
Better start eating and drinking when we engage today.
Yes, I am.
Today, I didn't even mean to do this, but okay, so I told you I'm doing this plant-based thing. Well, the protein that I have, I always start out my day with zeal and protein together, and it's like superfood drink, right, with protein. Well, the protein I have is like, it's pea protein, like PEA, that kind of protein. Anyway, pea protein and whey. And so whey is, animal based. And so I was like, oh, I can't have my awesome protein, which, yes, that's an issue of my heart for wanting something God says not to have. But so I'm like, okay, I'll just have my zeal. Well, you get hungry faster with just eating or drinking zeal. And so at our disciple community this morning, I'm like, oh, my stomach is growling. Okay, I'll grab a protein bar. I get in my purse and I'm like, oh yeah, it has chocolate on the bottom. That has animal stuff. And so I'm like, darn it, what am I going to do? And I'm like, duh, I need to just eat from the tree of life. And so I did, and it was so awesome. I felt like I didn't even need to eat after that. And it's like God just keeps teaching me more and more. This is really, for me, I need more of that. Like, I really need more teaching on this. When I say teaching, encouragement, like us talking about this is so good for me, because this is what he's telling me to focus on right now. And so it's really good. JD said, yes, there's a milk made of pea called Ripple. You can find it at Whole Foods. Interesting. I'm interested to see that. I drink almond milk and stuff, but I've never had pea milk. That just sounds awful. I don't know if I could drink it just because it sounds so bad.
Sorry.
Full of protein. That's good. Ripple's pretty good, Will says. Cool. All right, I should try it. I'm going to Whole Foods about 5:30 today. Anyway. All right, cool. So any other, oh wait, Christine had one. Oh my goodness, it's only been half an hour. Sorry. Okay, so unmute yourself.
Okay. Hello. Okay. Hi, group. I have a question regarding the copy. I made some copies commanding in the morning, and I have a question about something it says in here, and then I want to talk about an experience I had this weekend, which was I don't know. I'll tell you about it, but it really broke my heart because it had something to do with one of my boys. So I'm not understanding what happened, and I've been asking God about it. But it says may the human agents and the fallen sons of God turn their hatred on one another like the enemies of Israel in the Old Testament. Let all the human agents be confronted with the truth and their bondage to darkness, repent for your sins, or die in your iniquity. So what are human agents?
That would be like someone who is working for the enemy on purpose. So not like your fellow Christian who basically is being a scumbag for the moment, but someone like they are specifically like a Satanist, or like someone who is operating in witchcraft, knowingly going against the Lord. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That would be a human agent of darkness.
Okay. Well, okay, thank you. So with that being said, so could a human agent be one that is walking here on the earth with us and appear in front of us? Okay, so what happened was I was in Chicago this weekend, and we were at the Navy Pier. I don't know if you've ever been there before. And I was with my mom, my husband, and my granddaughter. And I don't know if you're aware or not, but my 21-year-old just recently got sentenced to 7.5 years to prison. So he was sentenced on May 15th, and he was transferred to Red Rock Prison. And from there, I got a letter that he was assaulted as soon as he got in the yard, so they took him into detention. So from there, they took him to Douglas. And so I haven't been able to talk with him over the phone or see his face or anything. So, because I kind of can, when I can hear his voice and see his eyes, I can kind of read what's going on with him. Or, anyways, maybe I just think that, but no, I do. I'm like, I wish I could see his eyes or hear his voice so I could read what's going on. Anyways, with all that said, so it's been really hard for me not being able to have any contact with him. And then he sent me a letter. It's kind of freaking me out. This was when he first got assaulted on the yard and they put him in detention. He says, if I send you letters, you'll know it's from me, and I will sign it Panda Love. If it doesn't say that, then it's not for me. So that kind of freaked me out. Like, okay, so what's all this mean? With all that said, and this is when we were in Phoenix. So we come back home to Macomb, Illinois, and we go through Wendy's. And my husband said, my granddaughter's with me, oh my God, that looks like, his name is Angel. That guy resembles Angel. And I'm like, okay. And he's a cashier, and he just had all these look like my son. And until we got to the front, and we're all staring at him. I'm like, well, we know it's not him. He's in prison. So, I just took I'm like, wow, he really resembled him. That's the first time I've ever really seen somebody look like my son, because I've had situations where I go in a store and somebody said, were you just here? And I'm like, no, so we resemble other people. But so I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what God's trying to tell me or what is that, but I'm just going to keep praying for my son. So what freaked me out this weekend was is that I'm standing at the pier, and my granddaughter says to me, hey, Nana, oh my God, that looks just like Angel. And I said, who looks just like Angel? And so then I turn around, and there's this boy, this man that's coming towards me, and my husband and my granddaughter. My mom was somewhere else. And I didn't hear what he said, so I asked my granddaughter, well, what did he say? And she said, let's get them. They're right there. So I'm like, well, it just took me by shock. And I'm like, no, he doesn't look like him. And so then we had a real stressful day, put it that way. That day it was very stressful. Things were not happening. We got lost. So by the time we got to the pier, we were all pretty stressed from even the drive and everything. But so I wasn't all alert on everything. So then this kid walks a little further, and he stops, and I'm staring at him. And I told my granddaughter, oh yeah, that might look like him, or he, but it's not. We know it's not. And then he's staring at me, and I'm like, he's raising his hands, and he's doing this like really angry. And I'm like, what is that kid doing? Why towards us? Why not somebody else? And why does it look like my son? Because his voice sounded like him, everything. So it was a pretty scary situation for me. And I started thinking, okay, I don't want to look crazy in front. I don't want to scare my granddaughter, one. I don't want to look nuts in front of my mother or my husband, because they don't. Well, I've kind of always been looked at the odd one, like the oddball, the crazy one, because I've seen things, and just ever since I was young. So I get I don't like to raise that up in front of my family, because like, oh, there she goes again with her crazy stuff. And so, yeah. So then I told my mom, I says, you know what, I'm going to take a walk. So my granddaughter, why don't you come with me? She was, okay, Nana, I just want to go check out this guy. So we start walking. My husband said, I'm going to wait here. And I want to catch up to this person. I don't know why I wanted to do that, but I did. And then I said to myself, okay, I got to let this go. I don't know what this is or why. It's probably nothing. Maybe it's just from the stress, or, so I told my daughter, let's go back and meet my mom. And anyways, so I started thinking, I'm like, okay, my son's he's being isolated right now. They're not putting him out in general public. I talked to a counselor that I get to talk to a counselor that counsels him, and so that worries me. One, that he's in isolation, and I start thinking, okay, what is my son doing in there? What is, so is he traveling in the spirit in a bad way that he shouldn't be? What's going on in there? So yeah, and I couldn't really share that with anybody. I wanted to share with my husband. I wanted to share with my mom, but then I'm thinking they're not going to understand what I'm talking about. So that's why I asked about the human agents. Was this something evil? And the reason I say this because in my past, when my angel's father died, I was 6 months pregnant. He was murdered. And I remember after his death that I used to see people, but I thought maybe it was just a trauma in my mind that would look like just his dad, and I would follow them. But then I got over that, so I don't know what happened to me Saturday or the day that we were there in Chicago. And then the same thing happened to me when my 20-year-old he died also. Today's actually his anniversary of his death. It'd be 12 years. So I remember when he passed away that there were several times that I'm like, oh, wow, that looks just like him. But of course I think, no, he's in heaven. That's not him. But here we are, and my son's alive. But I'm seeing somebody that it would be different if this kid had walked up to somebody else, but why walk up to me? So I just wanted to share that experience. I mean, I'm praying, I'm asking God, I'm trying not to let it put fear. I'm praying that my son's not dabbling with things that he shouldn't be dabbling in. So I'm not too sure. I just wanted to share that with you and see what you
I'll tell you what I am. This is me personally. Please, anybody can interject anything that they're discerning. But what I'm discerning is that it is not your son who is trans relocating or anything like that.
Okay.
I don't think it's that at all. In fact, what I think it is actually, JD said, satanic agents in human form. I think that what's happening is there's something that can happen with a lot of people who are doing this in witchcraft do it. Honestly, it can be used for the Lord too. Just very uncommon. But the satanic agents, a lot of them practice shape-shifting, and that is something, and this sounds so sci-fi, it's so funny to even talk about, but what happens is they can do that to try to trick you, to try to aggravate you, all of these things that's happening, basically.
Okay.
And so I believe that there is basically an assignment against you or your family, perhaps.
Okay.
I think it's your family. And so anyway, I would probably, in your command in the morning, just totally cut that off,
Okay.
with that assignment, because that's pretty, well, it's sucky. It's sucky. Yeah, see, shape-shifting, St. Patrick did it. It's true. Yeah. There are other people who do it. I know that Grant Mahoney's done shape-shifting. That can be, and it's all done with the Lord, like the Lord does. So if you do it in that way, it's good.
Right.
But a lot of them are practicing it totally outside of that on the enemy side. And so anyway.
Okay.
JD, I see you said, where can I find this version of Commanding the Morning? That I've posted on the intro class. I think I posted on the mentoring group too. I'll look it up and tag you in it on that group, and then you can download it or whatever. I always keep it on my phone, but yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. I couldn't wait to be here because I'm like, who can relate with me? Because I'm so thankful for this group, because yeah, trying to share that and keep it all weekend within me. And then yesterday, my mom and granddaughter left, and I cried myself to sleep because I held all this in, like, what's going on, and they don't relate, and I can't wait for the group. And so I appreciate you hearing me out and helping me with that. Thank you. I feel better.
Good.
Okay.
We are the goofy group. You can say.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Aaron Michael has something crazy to add, I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm really kidding. Lower your Go ahead.
It's usually something crazy, and I love that that's the assumption always. That makes me so happy. But one of the things, I was going to say two things. One of them was, I love what you said, Christine, about how you were so looking forward to the group because you knew that you could come here and talk to us about it. And what I wanted to say is, I just wanted to put this out here, that you don't have to wait till Sunday, and you don't have to wait till Wednesday or Thursday. I have my phone on me almost 24/7. I'm a millennial. It just comes with the territory. So, I mean, so anytime when something comes up, please don't deal with it by yourself. I mean, always, I know you're going and dealing with everything with the Lord, but that's why we're a community. We're a community because we're doing this stuff together. So I'm here, and I'm sure there are plenty of other people who are like, yes, me too, I'm here, because we all know that there are times where we've sat there and been like, Lord, oh my gosh, this crazy supernatural thing happened while I was soaring through the galaxies and blah, 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 blah. But you can't tell, your best friend that. They're going to be like, you were doing what? I tried to talk to one of my best friends about something, and she was like, so is there like a medication that you're taking for it? Like, and I was like, no, never mind. It's okay. I love you. Bye.
Okay. Okay.
So
thank you. I appreciate that for putting that out there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So there's that. And then the other thing I wanted to say was that I keep having, this is on a different note, I keep having this feeling that I am going to have a falling out soon with someone that I guess is like a spiritual son to me. And the whole reason that I even connected with this person was just because the Lord told me to. Like, I was like, okay, you want me to go give this person a word? So I went up to this kid to give them a word, and all of a sudden, like, just the craziest things started happening, and all this stuff started breaking out, and this person who was like doing drugs and stuff before is now like flowing in like heavenly stuff and the supernatural and like all this stuff, and it's just incredible. And they're back in Washington. And so we just talk, on the phone and all that stuff a lot. But the Lord's been showing me recently, like, there's going to be a falling out. And at first I thought he was like preparing me for it, because most of my relationships have ended with some form of like the person turning on me for some reason or another. And it's just had become something that I had just accepted as like, basically, oh, it's inevitable. People eventually are like, oh, I no longer like this person, but what the Lord showed me was that that's a lie from the pit of hell. So reject that. And I was like, okay, done with that. Christine, I'm here for good, but what he was showing me was that was actually, that pattern was a strategic plan that the enemy had put into place to kind of throw me off.
Okay.
But that the Lord is showing me that these kind of things are something that I need to be like standing against and interceding, because when it does happen, it's because the enemy is like putting a wedge in there. So he was just telling me to throw this out to the group, that whoever feels led to intercede on behalf of me and this person that I'm discipling, the spiritual son of mine, just that, we would be in the Lord's will, and that the stuff that the enemy tries to throw at would be silenced, and, whatever you feel the Lord leading in that, to just ask if you feel led. Like, if you feel you have a mandate for it, then yes. But if anybody doesn't, then like, that's fine too. But just to put that out there to you guys. That's all.
All right. Thanks, Aaron Michael.
Yeah.
We certainly will. I know that JD has something that she feels led to add concerning Christine. And so go ahead, JD, if you can unmute yourself and give a word.
Hi, Christine. Can you hear me?
We can
Yes.
hear you. Yes.
Okay. I'm telling you this because I don't want you to be discouraged, and I don't want you to give up. Your son's current situation does not have to be what it is. The reason why I'm saying that, because I have a younger brother who's constantly in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And this last time when he got in trouble, and I heard the Lord so clearly, because that night when it happened, I was in prayer, and I went to my mom's house. It was chaos everywhere. But as I was outside, and had dogs sniffing around my mother's house, it had something to do with drugs. And I was praying. I was interceding, in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard a loud thunder at that time. And everyone, even the cops, they were shooken by the thunder of God. So I said, Lord, I know you're in control. So needless to say, my brother, they had already picked him up, and and I had to bail him out. So, but in the process, I just kept on interceding on behalf of my brother, and I wouldn't give up. And I remember when I went to sleep, where the Lord showed me, he led me to this top. I was on top of this supermarket, and I was just lifting up different, I guess, little cages. And in one of them, my brother was caged in there. And I took him out, I lift up the cover, and I took my brother out.
Wow.
And mind you, this thing happened 2 years ago, but my brother kept going back. He kept going to court. The thing got dismissed, and he got re-indicted. It's like the enemy would not let my brother go. But I did not give up. I have refused for my brother to go spend one day in jail because of what I felt in my heart the Lord told me that was going to happen. And even, I don't know, till today, I don't know if my brother was in a right or in a wrong. But I know that the God I serve is an awesome God. And I ask the Lord to help my brother, to help whatever he wants me to do, I will do it. But I spend time in prayer. And I, needless to say, just recently, we went to court. He had to go to court. It's this process of trying to get things dismissed, some evidence being removed, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, sis, can you come to court with me so you can hear how these detectives they lied? And I said, oh, man. I said, you sure you want me to come? He said, yes. So I listened, and I took off work, and I went. And I kid you not, Christina, as soon as I walked in that courtroom was confusion. And ironically, my phone was supposed to be on mute, and I thought it was on mute, but it was on. And a girlfriend of mine called me, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I rushed out the courtroom and to pout off my phone. Then I noticed that one of the guys who was a co-defendant with my brother, he was outside talking to two other detectives that I saw that night that was supposed to be testifying, in the case. And as soon as I saw the kid, administrative officer of the court happened to come out of another room and notice the same thing. And she walked in and she said, this case got to be dismissed.
Oh, wow.
She said, the case is tainted. We cannot proceed on. And blah, 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 blah. And I told my brother, I said, something happening. I said, don't worry. Something's happening. And honest and needless to say, at the end of the day, and I said, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to keep praying. And I went outside the court when I was praying. And when I got back into the courtroom, come to find out, they decided to basically let the two other guys, they made a deal for the other two guys. But then they were still talking with my brother. I said, don't have to worry because God got this. And needless to say, at the end of the day, they basically dismissed all the charges. He just got a misdemeanor charge. And my brother was facing 5 years. So you can still intercede on behalf of your son.
Thank you. You saying that we are, in fact, my mom called me today to say that she got some paperwork from my son. He's putting in a post-conviction relief to take the case back to court on the grounds of the prosecutor was also representing my son, but also representing the other person that he was involved with. And so I am interceding for that. It's been hard to get this case back into the court. So yeah, I will keep doing that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's good.
You know, Christine, I'm very much like the other Christine in this aspect where I don't do things unless the Lord has given me a mandate for it. But I feel really strongly like this is something I'm supposed to be standing with you in. So I just wanted to let you know that, because like there's all sorts of stuff going on in my heart right now and in my spirit. And so, yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm going to go before I start crying.
Okay, thanks.
That's nice. Will, I see you for the first time. Looks like you got a haircut or something. I like it. Okay, so are you wanting to say something, or are you just gracing us with your presence? What the heck? Is anyone hearing this?
What's happening?
What? You sound like,
Ah,
oh my goodness, like
Harry.
a mouse, like
Like Alvin and the Chipmunks.
wow. Jeez. Okay, I don't believe in that. It's just funny. Wow, I don't know what is happening.
Huh?
I'm sure this isn't supposed to be funny, but it's so funny. I have no idea.
Alvin!
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Is he really talking?
He's really talking.
Are you doing this on purpose?
Liam, what the heck? I don't know what's happening. You're going to have to watch the recording, okay? Because this is funny.
Can you hear yourself right now, Will? Do you hear what we're hearing? Oh.
Weird. Oh, it's just speeding them up super fast, isn't it? Weird. He's very confused. Linda says C-3PO.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm not a Star Wars person. Okay, I'm gonna say your microphone isn't doing you justice, so maybe just type out what you're gonna say, if possible. Oh goodness.
We love you, Will.
I know he has something serious, and then we're laughing like crazy. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Wow.
Maybe try logging out and logging back in, because I'm really interested now in what it is you have to say.
There you go. All right.
Okay. Wow, that was amazing.
Wow. Oh goodness. There's Will. Okay, now try. Wait, now you just muted yourself.
Does it still sound that way?
We hear your voice.
All right, weird. Just bad connection.
Yay.
Wow. Oh, that was funny.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was wondering why everyone was reacting the way they were.
Sorry.
I wish I could redo it. It was like.
It literally sounded like Alvin and the Chipmunks. That's why I said that. That's why I was like, Alvin.
Okay,
Oh.
so Will has something to say that was
All right, what was I going to say now?
no idea.
Let's see. I was going to share about kind of a different court case just recently, in the last 2 weeks. And I think I shared before that I've had health issues with blood clots since, well, it happened March of 2017. I haven't been able to work since.
Wow.
And but when I went to God about it, he just said, I got this. And so I was, been trusting, but it's been, pretty financially challenging.
Right.
And we've been going to the courts, doing the DNA stuff, trying to figure out, what's going on with it, what's behind it. And because I've had tons of prayer over it, and I've just felt like not that Daddy God caused it to happen, but that he's using it for my benefit, which it has given me a lot more time to go after him, to go after this, and which I'm thankful for. But and I don't know why I waited so long to do it, but I decided I was going to take the disability case before the court and, ask for the resources of heaven. So I did. And 3 days later, I get a check in the mail for about $7,000.
Woohoo! Ah, that's awesome.
Which was no explanation at first. It was just from the U.S. Treasury, I'm like, well, okay. And then about another couple of days later, I get a letter in the mail, saying that I had been approved. But I'd been trying to get, disability for all that time. And so I'm just really, really thankful for that. And, it's just like, wow, now it's given us some room to breathe, financially speaking, and time to go after, the bloodline DNA issues and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's different kind of court case, but it's, it is.
No, but that's real. You know what? I tell people all the time, if you are going to court in the natural, go to court in heaven first, because it overrides everything in the natural. And so it's so true. Like, I love that. That's exactly what has happened every time. We've had weird, ones that really should not even be in someone's favor in the natural, but it's just not fair. So we go to the heavenlies and all of a sudden it's just dropped, or, it's crazy. So cool. God he blows my mind with this stuff. 3 days later, you get $7,000 check. That is just like him. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. And it was just when we needed it too, guys. It just had to sink like over $2,000 into our car. And it was like, okay, I'm trusting in you,
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Random question concerning your body stuff. And maybe we already talked about this. And if we have, please forgive me. I forget about things sometimes. But have you had your body take your spirit to court before? Have you done that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. And I actually try to present my body, or present myself a living sacrifice daily, as well as do the communion daily. But I keep asking what the accuser is accusing, but so far I haven't really gotten anything definite as to what's behind this. But I do know it's a bloodline thing, because I'm looking back. There's blood clot issues
all throughout.
Especially from my mom's side of the family. So it's yeah, and so it just. But here's the thing: if this hadn't happened, I don't know that I would have even, gone after this. I would not have gone after, going to the courts of heaven, doing this kind of thing. And it's not just for me; it's for my family. It's for my bloodline, for my kids. So thank you, God, that I don't know how I say thank you for the blood clot, but in a way, yes. So.
That's so cool. Again, this happens every time. What the enemy means for evil, God turns back for his good and our good. And it's like, wow. And I'm thankful for that for you too, because there's so much Yes, you're going because of the blood clot and to do all this bloodline cleansing, but how much, I just know if you're anything like me, you have like all this other bloodline cleansing that you're getting taken care of in the process, right?
Yeah, I kind of was going through the Grant Samantha Mahoney DNA bloodline thing, and they have like a thing, kind of like a guideline you go through as you're clearing different areas, but I find myself repenting for things that I would never have thought of repenting for.
Right.
Like vampirism. And when I repented for vampirism, I felt a shift go through my body.
Wow.
And I'm like, what did my ancestors do? Come on. So, we don't know. We don't know what our family did, and the trades that were made over our DNA, over us, in the future generations, as well as in, the Freemason stuff and all that. But, so I'm very thankful.
That's so cool.
And I'm thankful for this, like others been saying, I'm thankful for this group. I'm amazed at the vulnerability and intimacy that we share in this group. Like it's like almost like we feel like we can share anything, with each other. It's like it's family.
Yeah.
Which I don't know about you all. It's been something we've been really looking for, because we're kind of like the odd ones too, and we kind of feel alone, very isolated. But really I think the correct word would be insulated.
Amen. Ooh,
that's nice.
So
wow. That's cool.
So it's nice to find people that are part of our tribe, if you will.
You know how many times I've heard that? That's just exactly right. I think that's why we're all doing this. And it's, okay, so today, I told some of you, but I don't know if you were on yet, Will, but my friend Dottie, who was part of my engaging stuff, I was connected to her through a friend here who is a natural doctor, and it was so funny. When we met, we felt connected to the Health Mountain on the Source Blueprint, but at that point, we weren't really putting out there that we're doing all this Course of Heaven stuff because it's weird, and everybody thinks it's weird. And so she felt connected to us. And so I met with her, and we had to talk about what we do for health and ministry. And so I can't there's no getting around. If you're going to work with me and healing, you're going to know all this stuff, right? And so I just said, okay, so here's the thing. Heaven's not just for when we're dead. And I started, explaining. And she's like, oh, yeah, I know. But who do you listen to? Because apparently, so she was going to move to Texas to find people to be around because nobody she knew functioned in any of this stuff. And God just sent her to our church one day randomly, to come. And then we were talking about the blueprints and all this stuff. And so anyway, so met this Dr. Sarah. We work together now, and she is a natural doctor, does everything like this, is really wild in how she does natural. It's not medicine, but you know what I'm saying. Anyway, that healing. And so then she sends people to me for bloodline cleansing stuff generally. And Dottie was one of these people who sent to me. And so Dottie lives in Florida, has been living there for a long time. So I'm connecting with Dottie, and she's become part of the Engaging Heaven stuff. And all of a sudden her life's transformed from that. And so she came, and I met her today for the first time. And it was just like, I'd known her for years. It wasn't even weird at all. No sort of oh, nice to meet you. It was like, hey, get in the car. What you up to? It was so normal. And I love that I feel like I just know everybody, even though we talk twice a week or once a week or something. And it's just still this spirit connection, spirit family. And it's so normal that we feel alone because we're supposed to be set apart, right? Yeah. And so we're set apart. And so we're supposed to be like, crap, I'm just the weirdo. That is how we're supposed to be. And then we find our people, and that's what the church is supposed to be, is those weirdos getting together and being able to be free and being able to be vulnerable and all of that. That's what church is. And so anyway, yay, I get passionate about these things.
And that's the cool thing about, once I started going, after these things, and like, well, just recently I had, Terry Spencer come and that kind of thing, but that was a connection thing, and so we're actually, connecting with people. In fact, I just got back. He was just he just had a thing with Karina Pataki in Nashville last night. Well, yesterday, and just got back from that. But I mean, it's like the tribe is connecting.
Yes.
And it's like, and we actually found people in the area that we had no idea were, like you were talking about, we had no idea.
Right.
And I love the natural medicine thing that Dr. Sarah is doing. My wife and I definitely feel called. We're both in the medical field.
Oh, really?
But I mean, it's like,
gotta say sorry.
No, but it's been really hard because philosophically, it's like against everything we believe. And I mean, it's not that we can't be used. And I have been. I mean, I've seen miracles happen in the hospital, but I think there's definitely a better way. Yeah. And so, yeah. But I kind of had a break from that for about 1.5 years. So, and honestly, I don't miss it.
That's cool. Well, I used to be totally all into the medical everything my whole life, actually, until 4 years ago or something, and God totally changed my life all of a sudden. And now we're like the real wackos who we don't do anything medically anymore. Like, we don't have health insurance, we don't take even Tylenol. Like, there's nothing that we do that is medical now. And really, it has been a step of faith to not do that for us, because when my kid has an allergic reaction to something, my initial reaction is going, crap, I got to get the Benadryl, And so then I'm like, okay, if I love the Lord and he keeps telling me don't do it, I can't do it. And it's so hard to give that control back to God. You know what I mean? And so he always leads us to the right thing. Never has he let us down. I mean, even Soren chopped off part of his finger. Okay. Not the whole thing or anything, but immediately I'm like, oh my goodness, what are we getting? We got to rush him to immediate care. And I'm like this because this is in my brain for years. And so we're on the way there. And then it's like one of them's closed. And so I'm like, okay, go take him. We'll take him to the hospital. And I know this is going to be $1,000, just to walk in the door, silly. And so, and all of a sudden I'm like, what am I doing? So I just start praying and releasing healing and releasing the angels and all of that. And it totally stopped bleeding and everything was fine. And now his finger's perfect. And it's just like, come on, Chris. Sometimes for me, I have to rework my mind to get out of that, because it's what I grew up with. I mean,
I think we've been brainwashed.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's, it's advertised on TV. We got a magic pill for everything, or we got a surgery that'll fix it, or, it's like we got a quick fix for everything, which absolutely is not true. I mean, from working in the field for about 25 years, all we do is mask the symptoms, generally speaking. We don't really cure anything. People actually get better in spite of us, I think, a lot of times. And, which is, really, really hard to see.
Right.
But I mean, so many people, just like within religion, though, it's like people have blinders on, and they see what they've been taught. Right. And like with vaccines in medical school, you're taught vaccines save lives.
Right.
But it's absolutely not true.
No.
And I mean, I saw, because I worked on the pediatric side for the last half of it, and time again, we'd have kids coming in with seizures, and invariably they had just had vaccines. But no one would even look at that. I mean, the questions most of the time are not even asked.
Right.
And so it's I think what it does is it actually affects our DNA, which I think is an attack from the other side because, again, you know, he wants to do everything he can to destroy us being in God's image.
Well, and think of how every vaccine is made. Okay, here we are. I'm sorry. We will engage in heaven, y'all. But
Sorry.
but I get passionate about this too because my stepbrother, he was just like every other kid, had his vaccines, had this vaccine to get into kindergarten, and had a horrible, I would call it an allergic reaction. I don't know what you call it, but it caused terrible grandma seizures all the time. And so what happened is then he had to be put on this medication to stop the seizures that has made him mentally retarded. And so he's high functioning, but he's, you know, Special Olympics still my age. He will not get past a 3rd grade level unless he gets off the meds. So anyway, I wish I could control all that for him, but I'm not in charge of his life with that. And so anyway, what we did when he got into high school, his doctor said, well, we're going to see if, you know, if we take him off the meds, what happens if he's gotten better, you know. So they took him off the meds and for the seizures, and he started having seizures again all the time, but he also started to get smarter and just like immediately smarter. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't even. It was so hard to put him back on the meds for my family because you see, like, he didn't have to be like this. But so anyway, ever since, you know, I've been anti-vax, which is not popular. It's nothing I like to tell anybody because people get all crazy about it. But it's like, you can do your thing. It's okay. But I'm also doing my thing. And so anyway, we homeschool, thankfully, because I don't know how that would work in public school. But it's so unpopular to do these things. But when you see the direct effects, it's like, how could I possibly do that? And the vaccines that we put in our body, they come from other people's DNA, okay? They're coming from other people. That's how it happens. So, of course, we're putting that DNA in our body. We have to expect DNA change. We also have to expect now we have more bloodline cleansing to do.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, okay. Rant.
And you know, No, and the thing is, this is like a huge thing that needs to actually be talked about more, because I personally, within my own life, have experience with this. When I was 15, told my parents I was feeling really depressed and needed to start seeing a counselor or something. Within 20 minutes of seeing a counselor, she said, oh, you have bipolar disorder. And so here we're going to put you on this medication called Zoloft. So I started taking Zoloft. Within a week, I started having and whenever I say this, people are like, oh, that can't be true. You must not know what that means. But I was having like psychotic breakdowns, and I was having nervous breakdowns like weekly in the middle of the hallways in high school, falling to the ground, bawling hysterically, trembling. One day my mom actually had to come to the school, and I was hiding under the desk in the dark room in the art teacher's room. Like, I went to this place where I was normal functioning teenager who was having emotional stuff because I had stuff going on at home and with friends. And, you know, I was 15, and the doctor said, well, here, take this magic pill. And for like a week it worked. And then boom, all heck broke loose. And I was battling that for about 15 years. I was on the medications, and it was not until last year that when I like fully just turned everything over to the Lord, and I was like, God, like, I know you can do this. This isn't right. Like, all of these crazy things are happening in and out of psychiatric hospitals at least 10 times between the age of 17 and 28. And finally, you know, just turned it all over to God. Like, God, take it. I can't do this. Like, because I was more suicidal after being on the medications than I was before. And finally, because I was obedient when the Lord said, stand up right now and scream out that you need to be healed and you need to be set free. And when I tried to rebuke that voice, because it didn't make sense that the Lord would tell me to do that, the Lord said, it's okay, honey, because I want your freedom more than you do. And I know that it's confusing and you don't understand right now. So what he said was, I'm going to have this minister keep telling stories until you do it, because I want your freedom more than even you do. And then immediately the minister said, I don't know why I keep telling these stories, but here's another one. And I realized, oh my gosh, that's the Lord. And I jumped up and I shouted out, I need to be healed. I need to be set free. And immediately those things were removed from me. And then went to my psychiatrist and was like, hey, what would you think about weaning me off of my meds? And since then she started weaning me off. And my psychiatrist, who is a doctor totally into all of this stuff, started saying, like, I never thought this was possible. I never thought I'd see anything like this. I never thought. At the time I went through a phase where I was taking 10 different medications, not pills, but medications every night. And I was taking medications for bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, borderline, I was doing a whole weird thing. All these things, major depressive disorder, all of this stuff. And then it went into, oh, well, actually now you have fibromyalgia. Oh, and actually we think you have this, and just pumping me full of all these meds. Now I'm not on anything. I'm completely free of all of that because I stood up and I did what the Lord told me to do. And then I told my doctors, like, hey, I think I'm good. Like, let's start weaning me off this stuff. And the reason I went through the doctors and was like, hey, let's do this is because my family always used that stuff against me. And I was like, if I ever just stop and then I cry one day because someone's being unkind, they're going to be like, oh, you shouldn't have done this. And then that's going to be spoken over me. So I went to my doctor. My doctor started taking me off, and it actually opened things up for them, But anyway, sorry. Yeah. But the point is, a lot of those not even a lot. I will go as far as saying all of those medications have side effects. So it's one of those things where it's almost like when people do things in the supernatural through the demonic, they're basically selling their soul to the demonic and then allowing all these bad things to come in so that they can do whatever little magic trick over here, which is basically what's happening with the medications. Like, hey, you want to get rid of these migraines? I got this pill for you, but you're sacrificing, your mental health, you're sacrificing your liver, and you're sacrificing this. Is it worth it to not have migraines? And people are like, oh yeah, that sounds great. What? But anyway, sorry. I just went on and on. Sorry. But yeah, God is good. God is stronger than all of that. And so, yeah.
Yes. Wow. Can't believe everybody's having so many things. If you look in the comments, it's like crazy. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's engage in heaven together.
Let's do it.
7 minutes. That doesn't matter. Okay. We'll go. Let's govern the time first. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to stretch out the time and trust that the Lord has something. I will say this. I have an appointment at 4:15 who will pop on here. And so I'm going to lock the meeting right now just in case they get on early and we're getting weird or something. Anyway. Okay. All right. So if you have to hop off, you're not going to be able to get back on. So, all right. Well, let's just focus our hearts and our minds right now. Thank you, Jesus. I am governing the time right now. And Jesus, I know that we can just stretch this out and let it go longer. Thank you, Lord. Lead us where you want us to go. I just saw right now there are several people who are called to partner with her son in that situation, and I just saw different people going to her mountain. So Christine, you just need to give them permission in the spirit to go on your mountain and just start releasing stuff over her family. Will, I'm getting a word for you actually. And it has to do with what we were talking about earlier, which is funny because I didn't make the connection at that time, but it's about eating from the tree of life. That's something that's really important for you. And so I don't think it's, I think you just have to keep feasting there and have that healing come to you through the tree of life and through eating in that way. Right now I feel led to go to the river of life, and I am going to eat from the tree of life too. Please remember, if there's anything that you experience, just put it in the chat box. We can be in different places and it's okay. It will encourage those who are led to that place. Stephanie said, saw the tree of life yesterday in a crystal sea. This is something that I've never seen before. I was taking fruit off the tree of life, and you know there are different kinds of fruit. I saw something that looked kind of like an eggplant. But anyway, what it's like he was telling me that I needed to take this fruit off and cut it up and prepare it and serve it to my family. So I don't know if anyone has any insight about that, but I've never done this or heard of it or even really know what to do. Maybe I just serve it to them on my family mountain or something. Yes, Aaron Michael says, Christine, this is for Christine Arivizu. Christine, I immediately went to your mountain and hugged you. I was also going to the Tree of Life, 2 separate places at once. It's a thing. I picked a piece of fruit from the tree, then it appeared in my hand on your mountain. Maybe it appeared, and I feel like I'm supposed to give it to you. Yes. Jolanda said I was handed a juicy pomegranate. Aaron Michael said, whoa, that sounds amazing. Yes. Aaron Michael said, oh, Christine said, thank you. Aaron Michael said, I don't know exactly what the fruit was that I got. They never look like anything I've seen, but they're always so delicious. Right? I keep getting this one fruit that's kind of like a durian, if anyone's had durian before, but it's not stinky. It's just a really creamy, meaty kind of thing. And that it's like I keep getting this. I feel like it's important for my body. It's something that I may not be getting in my diet or something, but it's like Jesus just keeps saying that I need this one, you know. And then Aaron Michael said, I was also had a pouch of silver and gold dust just show up in my hand, and I feel like I'm supposed to blow it from my hands over your mountain, Christine. And then Christine said, I see blue like blue glitter raining over the tree of life in green pasture. Wow. You know what? All of a sudden I see this structure appear, and it's like a wooden, oh, I don't know what they're called, pagoda kind of thing, but something that has a solid roof over it that's flat. And anyway, I just got the feeling we're supposed to come under the roof, and it's for like a safety, like stuff is going to start falling on us, but if we're standing under here, then we will have this safety and nothing can harm us. And it's almost like taking shelter in a hailstorm kind of thing. Except for I saw what was going to fall on us was bigger and softer than hail. But anyway, he's just telling us to take shelter with him. Stephanie said had a friend attack today, so maybe to stay away. Mm-hmm. Stephanie said, see arrows flying in a protective shield. That's really interesting. Someone was just warning me about that. Thank you. Aaron Michael said, wow, I also see my spiritual son. His back is to me, and he has weeds in his ears. I talked to him in the spirit the other day. I was talking to him in his full maturity, and he thanked me for standing with him in this time. That I didn't at the time know everything that was going on, but a lot is going on, and he really needed intersection and support. Intercession, probably. Hugged me, and we both cried. Wow, it's making sense now. It's cool. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Well, I just went to the Lord and made a trade. And it was for some healing salve to put over my daughter. And she's very upset, and I know that God can heal her and just make her feel better, both inside and in her body. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Stephanie said, saw for Christine, who spoke earlier, a wand with a star, maybe her wishes coming through. Cool. Aaron Michael said, wow, I see the weeds coming out like those dandelion weeds things we blow in, but the seeds are not planting anywhere else. They're being burned up. Thank you, Lord. Well, Jesus, we just want to thank you for being here, letting us rest in you, and letting us really just receive more. We want more and more. And so we don't want to come out of this place. Let us just soak more and more of you up. We want to learn more, grow more, heal more, minister more. Thank you, Jesus. We love you, and we want to just say thank you so much for this group and for everyone being able to really connect on a family spirit kind of level. We love that. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. I saw this too late, I think. Aaron Michael said, blow on, sorry for all the typos. And then Stephanie said, would like a word and prayer for finance. Okay. If anybody here, can we contact you on the mentoring group page, maybe? If you have a word, or if you have, if you feel led to pray over Stephanie for finance, if you could do that, we'll engage over that. Do that on the, okay, great. Yes, on the mentoring group page. And then Diane said, Christine A., when you pray for your son, always release the Spirit everywhere he goes and angels. Aaron Michael said, I was going to say that. I feel like we're all supposed to stay here, even if we go about our day, that we continue to allow our spirits to engage. Yes. All right. Well, you guys, it's been a blessing. I'll have to say goodbye and kick us all off of here so I can have the other meeting. But anyway, have a great day. All right. See ya.
Love y'all. Bye.
Love you too.
I love you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.